Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Daily Gold YouTube channel. And with me today, we have another company interview. I'm really excited for myself and all of you out there to get an update on this company. It is AbraSilver. And listeners, AbraSilver, we had this company back on in April, and the low in the stock at the end of February, very end of February, up until a couple weeks ago in the peak, stock was up roughly 175%. A great move, but as we know, things are pulling back now. So if you missed it, you'll want to pay attention and get informed on this company. So with me today is John Miniotis. He is the president and CEO of AbraSilver. And John, it's great to have you back. And first things first, in mining in recent years, there's been a increase in political risk nearly in every jurisdiction. Investors are now way more concerned about political risk than they were 20 years ago. I know that goes for me. But for AbraSilver, John, this is a unique case because we are seeing the reverse. Can you explain what has happened in Argentina and how much that is going to help the economics of your Diablillos project?
Yeah, thanks very much, Jordan. It's great to be back on. Long overdue. Certainly, we've made a number of some very significant progress since we've last spoke. And yeah, one of the key changes has been the overall improvement in Argentina. So of course, President Milei, very well known, quite an exciting character, but he's been able to successfully pass into law his new RIGI regime, which is this incentive regime for large-scale investments. And so he's really looking to encourage new investments going on into the country. He sees that obviously as creating lots of jobs and really creating wealth for the country. And so what he passed into law in July of this year was that basically for any new investments over $200 million in any industry, not just mining, but of course mining is included as part of that. So if you're investing over $200 million in a short period of time over the next few years, you get tax incentives. So instead of having the overall tax rate be 35%, you get a 25% tax rate. He's also eliminating export duties, which were previously very high. Those will all be eliminated. And then most importantly, I would say there'll be no more foreign exchange restrictions. And that's always been one of the key hurdles of doing business in Argentina. You were always subject to these different FX rates and various FX restrictions. Now, for projects that qualify for this new RIGI, which Diablillos is one of very few that qualify, there are no more FX restrictions. And so as part of that, I mean, this is, very significant. I mean, the tax changes alone and the elimination of export duties adds literally several $100 million to the economics from the pre-feasibility study that we announced back in March of this year. So as a result, to quantify that, we're actually updating that pre-feasibility study. That'll be announced in about a month's time from now. We expect sometime in early December, well before year end, we'll be able to issue an updated study that incorporates those changes and also incorporates some of the other optimization opportunities we've been working on since our study was published in March. So we see that as a very material catalyst for us. One of the big milestones that we're looking to accomplish before this year wraps up is announcing that updated pre-feas. And I think overall, you've seen the sentiment in Argentina become much more favorable. You've seen some large M&A transactions as well, with BHP and Lundin Mining acquiring Filo del Sol. You've seen Rio Tinto recently announce a mega sort of lithium development project going ahead in Argentina. And so, yeah, no, the market conditions are very favorable in Argentina. Things are certainly heading in the right direction here.
Okay, John, I really want to hear from you about the drill results, especially at Jac and Jac North. But first, you mentioned the optimization opportunities at Diablillos. Can we cover those?
Sure. So yeah, since our pre-feasibility study was announced in March, we hired this consultant called Whittle Consulting, who's done some excellent work for us. So they've taken the same resource reserve, so not even incorporating any of the new drill results into the mine plan. And they've just been able to further optimize the mine plan that we had in our pre-feasibility study. And so they've been able to make adjustments that have resulted in improved strip ratio, higher grades coming in, even higher grades coming in the first sort of 5-6 years of the mine plan, steepening the pit walls. I mean, a whole bunch of just resequencing some of the design of the mine plan. So they've made tweaks that have resulted in quite a significant improvement, I would say, based on sort of preliminary results. And so, of course, our team's working on finalizing that. And then again, we're about a month away from having those final results ready to be announced. But it's certainly something to look out for. I think just having an optimized mine plan. It'll still be based on 9,000 tons per day, so it's not a very different mine plan, but it's just being able to unlock additional value here as we're mining Diablillos.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about unlocking additional value because I've been following your drill results, but I want to get more detail from you. I've noticed in the recent results you had two hits outside of Jac and Jac North. If I'm looking at the map correctly, I think those were to the south or a little bit to the southeast. So you had two hits that were outside of the resource. John, can you cover those? Because I mean, one of those, it looked like the grade was just a monster hit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've had some great results. So at our current project, of course, there's two main deposits right now. Oculto is the large one, and then to the southwest of that is that new high-grade Jac zone. We discovered Jac last year, of course, in 2023. It's significantly higher silver grades, and then we're stepping out. So it's to the southwest edge of that Jac deposit that we continue to step out, sort of 50-meter increments at a time. We've announced recently one of the latest results was over 250 grams of silver near surface over a 50-meter intercept. So excellent to get those thick intercepts at very, very high grades. And that's, of course, outside of the resource, which is very encouraging. It means the pit's growing out in that direction. So we continue to extend the pit out in that way. One of the earlier press releases we probably announced sometime in September or so. We also, again, to the south, sort of southwestern edge of that pit, beyond the current pit margin, we encountered, back then it was 277 grams of silver. So even higher silver over like 31 and a half meters. So another extremely high intercept, high grades over significant widths. And within those, you get, 1 or 2 meters of 1,000 plus or like a kilo of silver. So you get those, monstrous high grade kilo plus intercepts, world-class intercepts over a meter or two. But when you're mining open pit, it's always ideal to have 50 meters of extremely high grade. So yeah, we've been very fortunate. And at Jac, we continue to have lots more drill results. We've had 3 rigs operating there for, pretty much all year now. There's still more results yet to come. We have about 15 holes or so at the lab waiting for those results to come back in. And then I'd say the other thing at Oculto, the main deposit within that pit, in an area that was previously classified as waste, as part of the last press release, we encountered 500 grams of silver over, I think it was 15 meters there. So again, a phenomenally high grade intersection. So yeah, no, the pit continues to grow in all directions. And so we're growing it to the southwest for sure at Jac, but also within Oculto, we're growing it. And there's also some step out potential to the northeast at Oculto. So this keeps getting bigger. And of course, that's why we keep drilling, just keep adding value for shareholders.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is we're getting into forward-looking statement territory, so I'll just mention that. But from the results that you've seen, how much bigger do you think Jac can get? I know that we've kind of talked about it privately, not publicly.
Sure.
I mean, do you think like how many tons or how many ounces do you really need for Jac to add like another year of high grade at the mine plan? I mean, are you seeing enough potential outside of the resource that you can add another year or two of high grade? I mean, what do you guys, again, this is forward-looking statement territory, but
Sure.
what do you guys kind of see so far with the data that you have is the potential?
Yeah. No, so it's a great question. And really the way we're thinking about it is right now we have over 250 million ounces silver equivalent. So this is already a large scale sort of world-class deposit. And so it's not like we need to find an extra, 50 million or 100 million ounces to make this economic. I mean, this is already highly economic. We don't have to find another single ounce. And so our drilling is really trying to vector in on the highest grade zones. And so we're not trying to just bulk this up and turn this from 250 million to 400 million ounces and bring down the grade. It's the opposite. We're really looking to, drill these high grade zones and that are going to add value in the first 5 or 6 years of the mine plan. And so our exploration program has been very, very focused. We're looking to add ounces, but add higher grade ounces. And so that's very, very important because that makes an immediate difference. Right now, we already have 13-year mine plan. If you're adding lower grade stuff, that's going to come in years 15. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to be drilling that right now. So we're being very, very selective, looking to add, another year or two at Jac would be phenomenal. I mean, obviously at those types of grades, 200, 250 grams per ton of silver, when your cutoff grade is 40 or 45 grams, I mean, there's massive, massive margins. So just adding another year or two here at those high grades is what we're targeting. I think down the road, if you're looking at higher silver prices, of course, our resources are calculated, I think, at $24 silver. Down the road, if you want to, recalculate this at $30 silver and add, another 5 to 10 years of mine life, we could certainly do additional drilling and maybe bulk this up to get to ultimately 3, 4, 500 million ounces silver equivalent. But I'd say that's not the focus with this immediate drill campaign. I think we're being very selective, targeting these highest grades that are going to, have a big impact in the first 5 years of the mine plan. And then down the road, of course, there could always be additional drilling to just, make this a monster deposit, it's already turning into that. But yeah, we're obviously focused on the highest grade areas right now.
Yeah, so let me follow up on you and see if I can get, a direct answer. Uh, how many how many tons or how many ounces? Like if because if we're looking at Jack and I believe the resource at Jack is about 200 or 205 grams per ton. That's the grade. So I mean some of these hits that you've seen, I mean at 50 meters of 250 grams. I mean that's fantastic.
Sure.
Would 10 million ounces give you add another year to the those 5 years, or would you need 20 million or 15? Let's just presume the grade is over 200. How would
Sure.
that like how much do you need where it gives you a full year?
Yep. Yeah, 15 million ounces, I'd say at roughly 200 grams per ton. That's another full year's worth of production. And then based on the pre-feasibility study, one of those years adds about $155 million in after-tax after-tax free cash flow. So yeah, adding again 15 million ounces of silver would add about $150 million or so to the NPV. So yeah, that's the sort of range we're targeting here. 15 to 30 million ounces of high grade material is 1 to 2 more years. And again, at those exceptionally high margins, it's adding well over $100 million. And so that's kind of the immediate focus.
Yeah, I mean, just my own comment. Just adding 1 year to that would be fantastic. But somehow, if you were able to discover and delineate another, 25 million to 30 million, another 2 years, then you would be looking at 7 years of what, like potentially 17 million ounces per year of production, silver equivalent.
Mhm. Correct. Yep. Yeah. Right now in the mine plan, it's 18 million ounces a year is the average for those first 5 years. Yeah. If we were to extend that to 7 years at that average rate, yeah, that's it's adding a lot of value for sure for shareholders.
Okay, so let me go back. Well, first thing I want to talk about the results that are coming. The 15 holes that are coming, do you know exactly like which areas those have been drilled? Like, are most of those going to be
Yeah.
around Jack or Jac North? Can you clarify?
Yeah. So we've been drilling exclusively really around Jack and at Oculto. So at Oculto Northeast. So there's again where we hit that high grade intercept of 500 grams of silver. I believe there's a few more holes sort of in that general area. Also further to the southeast, there's this target called Cerro Bio that we've been drilling. I think some of those results are already at the lab. We've drilled those holes probably several weeks ago now, and those are definitely at the lab. And then, yeah, I'd say there's at least half a dozen or so holes from the Jack South area, some of those connecting to this alpaca target. So yeah, the general vicinity is Jack and, the extensions of Jack around the southwest area, and then Oculto Northeast and extending to that Cerro Bio target. So most of the holes that are at the lab are from those two general areas.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about alpaca just for a minute. I'll get a quick comment from you. I think I saw in some past you had a couple holes there that were pretty high grade. I mean, are those a different target or are those part of Jack North?
It's likely going to connect. I mean, we think Jack North ultimately, as Jack grows, now we're just calling it the extension of Jack. So Jack North hopefully will fall within the overall Jack deposit. We're looking to just make this one large deposit, and we think that extends out towards that alpaca area as well. So that's, yeah, a few hundred meters, maybe it's 200, 250 meters right now outside of the pit shell. And so, yeah, we've been stepping out towards that alpaca area as well. But yeah, ultimately, we think that's all going to be part of Jack as Jack grows. And then same with Oculto. There's a Cerro Bio target, which is to the northeast. And we've been just, progressively stepping out towards that. And hopefully that could fall within the pit. So the pit's growing towards the northeast and towards the southwest. So it's kind of just getting longer. It's over 2 kilometers in strike length right now, and keeps getting bigger.
So I mean, another quick response question. How much drilling do you have left in this program? Do you have the numbers as far as, we have this many meters left or we have this many meters left to
Yep.
report?
Yep. So as of today, we've drilled over 12,000 meters of the 20. So there's roughly 8,000 meters left to be drilled. And so we expect that'll be completed by February. So another, all of November, December, January, and we'll be wrapping up those 8,000 meters probably sometime in February.
So should we expect to see a continuous flow of results?
Absolutely. Yeah, without question. Between now and, the end of Q1 next year, we expect every few weeks as we get back. I mean, we wait to get back 3 to 5 holes at the very least and then issue a press release. So yeah, as we get back those labs, we're always very, very quick at putting together the press releases and getting that information known. And so yeah, we expect a flurry heading up towards the end of this year. And certainly in the beginning of the new year as well, we expect a lot of those holes will have been received, and we'll make sure to press release those as quickly as possible. And then in parallel, of course, we talked about the updated pre-fees, and we expect that to come out, of course, before year end as well. So there'll absolutely be a significant amount of news flow here as we head, as we wrap up the year, and certainly as we start off 2025.
Yeah, just another quick question on the pre-fees. So are most of the results that are coming now, are they going to be in the feasibility study next year or might a little bit make it into the pre-fees?
Yeah, so we're not including any of the drilling right now that's going on into the updated pre-fees. So we're going to base it on the same resource as the original feasibility or pre-fees that we announced earlier this year. So all of these results, all the 20,000 meters, once that's completed in February and we get those results, we're looking to announce a feasibility study. So include all of that drilling, the 20,000 meters, into a feasibility study, which will be completed in Q4 of 2025. So a year from now, basically. So 12 months from now, of course, we'll have that bankable sort of definitive feasibility study. But in the interim, of course, we see some big improvements from the updated pre-fees that we'll be announcing next month.
Okay, John, I'm not a big copper guy myself, but I know that lots of investors love copper. Let's talk about the copper porphyry potential. I know you have a target or two that you're drilling because I believe it was David O'Connor who was saying that the source for Diablillos could be a copper porphyry itself. In other words, it's the copper porphyry is feeding, this massive, big and beautiful, as Trump would say, big and beautiful, uh, this big and beautiful Diablillos deposit. So tell me about the copper porphyry potential. I know Kinross, I think, wants you to take a stab at it. So tell me about how you will be drilling that shortly.
Sure. So we're actually drilling there right now as we speak. So there's a cluster of porphyries here. So there's one beneath Oculto that we know. So we know there's a porphyry deep beneath Oculto, the main deposit here, because as we've drilled through the oxides into the underlying sulfides, we've encountered, I mean, a dozen plus intercepts. They're listed sort of in the appendix of our corporate presentation. But we've hit, some holes of like 40 meters of 2.5% copper with, over 3.3 grams of gold and, hundreds of grams of silver. And we've hit, again, probably a dozen of those holes with well over 1% copper and very, very high grades of gold and silver. And none of those holes actually encountered the actual porphyry intrusive itself. So, we know there's a deeper porphyry that's likely too deep. So we're not drilling for the one that's beneath Oculto, but about 3.5, 4 kilometers from that, there's another cluster of porphyries. Then you can see some of the mineralization there has always been outcropping. So not really highly mineralized at surface, but we've recently completed some additional geophysics work there that has identified this chargeability anomaly. And so this is a sort of a porphyry complex now that we're drilling at Diablillos. The two key targets there's a Cerro Viejo and Cerro Blanco. And again, I think these porphyries are likely quite a bit closer to surface. So we're drilling some deep holes there right now. We have one of our rigs there. It's already completed the first hole. We're now well into the second hole. We'll drill at least 3 or 4 holes this year, and then again, get those results. We expect to have those results probably sometime in January. We can report the initial intercepts there, and then next year we'll see if there's a porphyry here. Of course, it could be a very, very highly attractive, exploration target, something that's completely brand new for us here. We've never really targeted sulfides and sort of big copper gold sort of sulfide deposits here. But yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for that work to be going on now in parallel. The focus is obviously still on expanding Jac and Oculto and getting this project ready for a feasibility study next year. But if there's a big juicy porphyry there, we obviously want to have that information. And so, yeah, that drilling's going on, and likely sometime early next year, we'll have those initial results ready to be reported as well.
Okay, John, everything sounds wonderful. The silver price is broken out. It's rising. Your stock is up. Great exploration results. The positive political change for you. Just tell me what the potential negatives or challenges could be. Like, what could potentially go wrong, if anything, over the next year?
Yeah, no, for us, really, it's a matter of just focusing. Look, you don't want to lose sight and start drilling all these random things. So we are really focused, making sure we're drilling the highest grade areas, incorporating those into the feasibility study. Of course, the permitting process is going on. We submitted our EIA application in September. We're having, already dialogue with some of the mines ministers there. So everything's progressing. I mean, it's just a matter of delivering for us. As you look to then start developing this project, of course, this is a large project. There's no question about it. This is not a small scale project. This is going to be producing 18, 20 million ounces a year of silver. So it's absolutely world-class project. With that comes, larger capex, relatively large capex, I'd say. So about 400 million or so is the current capex estimate. And so, next year, as we're finalizing the feasibility study, if we're looking to develop this ourselves, then you start having discussions on, okay, how could we develop this without overly diluting our shareholders? So that's one risk. But really, the way that we've identified handling that risk is that you can build this in a staged approach, and you can start off with a heap leach operation, which is not being reflected in the current economic studies that we're publishing. And so that would have, that could bring down your initial capital cost by over 50%. So you could be looking at capital costs around $200 million which could be something much more manageable for a smaller company. So yeah, every time we identify a risk, of course, we want to know how are we going to deal with that risk. And so yeah, I'd say right now, of course, we're growing this project, delivering. We don't want to lose sight. And then as we, look forward to ultimately developing this, there's a whole bunch of new risks that come up. But again, I think this project has a lot of optionality where you could start off small if needed and ultimately ramp up. And so, yeah, no, we think on a relative basis, very, very few risks here relative to most undeveloped mining projects.
And John, how would you respond to someone who said, "Yeah, I like the story. Everything sounds great. I'm a big silver bull, a great silver project, but I look at the stock and I missed it. It's gone up too much. I know it's pulling back a little bit now, but I missed it, so it's too expensive. I got to look for something cheaper." How would you respond to that commentary?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, for the longest time, people were saying, "Look, I like the story, but the stock's not moving, and so why should I buy this stock if it's not moving?" And then, of course, silver and gold rallies, and the stock's up 100%, and now
Well,
everybody's missed it. So
I'm
it's
just,
yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to press
No,
you from
no, we
all
hear that
sides
all the
here.
time.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
hear that all the time, actually. So that's why I'm laughing. No, we have a slide in our corporate presentation which addresses that. I think for anyone who thinks that they've missed it, look at our corporate presentation. I mean, at the pre-feasibility study, which we announced and does not yet reflect, obviously, all the updated changes that are going to be announced next month. So we think that's a very, very conservative case. That was done at $23.50 silver and $1,850 gold. So very outdated commodity prices compared to both silver and gold prices today. And yet the net present value of this project was just under $700 million at those price levels. Now, if you fast forward to today, silver price has moved by almost $10. Now we're, much closer to $33 an ounce. And gold is, close to $2,700 an ounce. And so if you run the economics at current spot prices, the project has improved the value here by over $1 billion Canadian. And so instead of having a $700 million net present value, you're now talking about $1.7 billion net present value. And so we are, without question, cheaper today given the current spot prices. I mean, we're trading at 0.2 times price to NAV. So we're cheaper today, even though the share price is close to $3 a share, than we were sort of 3 or 6 months ago. Even though the share price was quite a bit lower then, at those gold and silver prices, we're trading at a higher multiple. So the share price has gone up, but actually our multiple's gone down because this project has very, very significant leverage to higher silver and gold prices. And so, yeah, the share price has gone up, but you have to look at things in the current environment, given how much we've de-risked this project, given all the advancements we've made, given some of the catalysts that we have coming up over the next few months, given the improved outlook in Argentina. I think, a lot of that is not being reflected in our share price. And when you factor that in, you'll see we're probably trading at one of the deepest discounts we've ever traded at. So I'd say arguably the shares are cheaper today on a relative valuation basis than they have been even over the last 2 years when we were trading much lower commodity prices. So yeah, no, I think it's all relative. You have to incorporate obviously all the new information, incorporate updated silver and gold prices, and we're trading nowhere near current net present value of this project.
Okay, very good, John. Last thing before I let you go, if any of our viewers and listeners, if they have more questions about AbraSilver and they want to get in contact with you or investor relations, where can they go? How can they contact you or the company?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Check out our website as a first source of information, and then feel free to email. So the general email that we have is info@abrasilver.com, and I always respond to those on a very, very timely basis. So I personally respond to those questions that we get all the time from shareholders, and so that's my job. I'm here to answer questions, and so yeah, please don't hesitate. If you have any questions, reach out. Happy to email, correspond, and then set up a call as needed with any investor who wants more information.
Okay, great, John. Thank you so much for coming on today. been a heck of a year for AbraSilver, and I'm confident that there will be more success coming over the months and years ahead. Thank you so much again for coming on, and all the best to the company, and hope we can do this again.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Jordan. My pleasure.